Hey, Mike here. I just wanted to let you know that you can listen to Dark Poutine early and ad-free on Amazon Music, included with Prime.
You're about to listen to a historical episode of Dark Poutine. After episode 149, you will find Scott is no longer with the show. In an effort to maintain continuity and offer listeners as many episodes as possible, we are leaving the episodes in which he co-hosted intact. Thank you.
We're supposed to talk at some point.
Is it? Are we whispering the shows now?
It's the ASMR show. Oh, that's the word.
I'm uncomfortable.
I hear that every show anyway. Welcome to Dark Poutine. I'm Mike Brown, creator and host. With me, as usual, is my good friend and co-host, Scott Hemingway. Say hello, Scott.
What's poppin', y'all?
Are you popping and locking?
You tell me, am I?
That's apparently what you're doing, but let's just say the rhythm ain't gonna get you. Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
I got moves like Jagger.
The views, information, and opinions expressed during the Dark Poutine podcast are solely those of the producer and do not necessarily represent those of Curious Cast, its affiliate Global News, nor their parent company, Chorus Entertainment.
Dark Poutine is not for the faint of heart or squeamish. Listener discretion is strongly advised. We're not experts on the topics we present, nor are we journalists. We're two ordinary Canadians chatting about crime and the dark side of history. Let's get to it. Put on your toque, grab yourself a double-double and a Nanaimo bar. It's time to scarf down some Dark Poutine. Well,
I could really use a double-double.
I know I'm tired.
Yeah. But I always can. I always want coffee.
This is episode 79.
What?
Right?
That's 10 more than 69.
Tee. Came home with the CrimeCon crud, so if my voice sounds a little nasally this week, that's why.
Crime cud.
CrimeCon crud. It made me seek, and it made Carol seek.
Now, like you were saying, like a whole bunch of people got it, and I don't. So now I'm just like, oh God, is it going to hit me at any second?
Now you're patient zero.
Yeah. Hey, enjoy the Ebola.
And did you see the biggest Ebola outbreak ever on the planet?
It was the second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
only the second.
Not impressed. Not impressed. Yeah, no, I did. I saw somebody tagged me in that article, and people need to be scared more about this shit, man.
On with the show. In the early morning of June 20th, 2009, 17-year-old Jodi Henrickson was last seen in the company of her ex-boyfriend Gavin Arnott near Miller's Landing on beautiful Bowen Island, BC. Gavin admitted that the two had been arguing on the side of the road and then had gone their separate ways. Gavin claims this was the last time he'd seen Jodi and denies having any part in her disappearance. Where is Jodi Henrickson? It's exactly 10 years later and she's still missing, gone without a trace. But that does not mean the case is closed. Far from it. In February of 2011, nearly 2 years after Jodi went missing, IHIT, or the Integrated Homicide Investigation Team, took over the case of the missing Squamish teen. They suspect that Jodi Henrickson met with foul play, and the disappearance is now an open homicide investigation.
As we know from my personal experience, just because something isn't resolved doesn't mean the police aren't diligently working on it.
That's correct. Investigators and Jodi's family believe that someone has information about what has become of Jodi, who would now be 27 years old. Many believe that Jodi Henrickson's body has been secreted and still lies buried somewhere on Bowen Island. Jodi's ex-boyfriend, Gavin Arnott, has been the only one named publicly as a person of interest in this case. He has never been charged with any crime regarding Jodi Henrickson's disappearance, nor has anyone else.
So that's interesting because, I want to make sure in my capacity that I'm respecting the fact that he's never been charged.
There you go.
Because it's...
But we have to tell his story.
Yeah.
Because he was the last person known to have seen Jodi. So it's impossible to separate the two.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. But, we have to also respect the fact that person of interest, sure, but not charged, not convicted.
Exactly.
And, if has nothing to do with it, that would be a very terrible thing for us to accuse him of.
Exactly. So we're not doing that. All the information we're providing is easily attainable through simple Google searches, and we'll also provide links to sources and legal documents on the Dark Poutine website.
Yep. So what we're talking about is what anybody can find.
Yeah. Bowen is a small island municipality just 3 kilometers from the mainland and is considered a part of Metro Vancouver.
Oh, that I didn't know.
It's only accessible by boat or ferry.
Mm-hmm.
Bowen Island is 12 kilometers long by 6 kilometers wide and is home to approximately 3,700 people.
It's more people than I thought.
I
thought a couple hundred.
No, there's quite a community over there. Bowen Island's traditional name in the Squamish language is something that I'm not even going to attempt. There's a lot of letters in there that I would not even know how to pronounce.
Yeah, but I'd love to hear how it's pronounced. So
Yes.
If anybody knows how to pronounce it, great, let us know. But
Apparently it translates to fast drumming, which could indicate the sound that the water makes as it goes by,
okay.
or might relate to drumming exactly. We're not sure.
Yeah.
We need somebody who is of the indigenous community to explain it to us.
And I guarantee you somebody local who's listening probably knows.
Will know,
So,
yeah.
let us know.
Bowen is still used by the Squamish and Musqueam people for deer hunting, so
Oh.
it's still part of their traditional hunting ground.
Okay, pardon my ignorance, but wouldn't you eventually run out of deer to hunt on an island? A small island like that?
Well, here's the thing. We used to see deer swimming back and forth to different islands in Nova Scotia all the time. So you'd be going along in your boat, your cabin cruiser or your sailboat, and you would see something sticking out of the water, and you would think, oh, that's like a seal or something. And
Yeah.
you'd get closer, and sure enough, it was a deer swimming.
What possesses a deer to be okay, I've got all this massive force behind me, but let me go jump in this water and see,
Well, you'd have to ask a deer.
I will, Mike. I will. I've had many a conversation with deer.
It is quite bizarre, though, coming upon like a deer with a big rack of antlers swimming
God.
along in the
I would
water.
imagine.
It's really weird.
Yeah, because that's not at all what you're expecting to see. Oh, is this a log with some branch? Oh, no, it's a deer.
Yep. Spanish explorers were the first Europeans to set foot on the island in 1791, naming it Isla de Apodaca, after a Mexican town.
Oh, interesting.
In 1860, English Captain George Henry Richards renamed the island after Rear Admiral James Bowen, master of the HMS Queen Charlotte.
Okay. Oh, so that's where it got its name.
There you go. From Wikipedia, quote, in 1871, homesteaders began to build houses and started brickworks, which supplied bricks to the expanding city of Vancouver. Over the years, local industry has included an explosives factory, logging, mining, and milling, although there is no heavy industry on the island at present.
Yeah,
End quote.
Yeah, I've always been under the impression that it's just a quaint little city, town, whatever you want to call it. Like, everybody I know who goes there, it's like they've got like a second home or a cabin there, or they just want quiet living.
Yeah, lots of people do live there. Like I say, there's 3,700 permanent residents. And it's a rural suburb with a more laid-back feel, and that's probably due to the fact of its issues with its accessibility.
Yeah.
Being only accessible through water. Many people commute to jobs on the mainland now, although there are many small businesses providing services to island residents and many tourists.
So the ferry, do you catch it at the main terminal?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And how much does that cost you? No?
I don't know. I can't remember.
Because I'm wondering,
I'll have
like,
to
it's
look
such
it
a small jaunt. Is it free?
up. It's not. I don't believe it is free.
Huh. Anyways, okay. I can't believe I've never been there, and it's like right there.
It's also home to a well-known drug rehab center called the Orchard, and it's a pretty high-end place. And it made its home on the picturesque and isolated little island because it was a great place for people to go and kind of get away.
Yeah, it's very isolated. And so,
Yeah.
if you're somebody who...
Wants to recover from drugs or booze.
Yeah,
or whatever.
having that isolation is probably fantastic.
This isn't an ad for the Orchard, but I'm just saying that's one of the places that exist there.
Yeah.
I've personally been to Bowen a few times.
Not I, Mike. Not I. I seriously, though, I think I'm going to plan a trip there over the next few months or something, because I'd really like to. When you've got something so close and so beautiful as I hear, it's silly to not go.
We locals typically call it just Bowen, leaving the word island off for brevity.
I don't know if I've ever left but I find that.
Well, you didn't live on the North Shore, so everybody.
Okay,
I knew lots of people who lived there, and they would call it Bowen, and people who lived in North End would call it Bowen. Bowen Island is just like, that's too long.
Yeah. I find that, and it's probably something that happens to a lot of people. When something is so close,
You just don't do it.
Yeah, because the urgency isn't there. Like, I didn't go to Whistler really until probably my late 20s. I never went to Vancouver Island until my mid-20s and stuff. And it wasn't like I don't want to go, but it's like, yeah, it's there. It's not going anywhere. I'll go check it out when I have time.
There have been many films shot on Bowen Island, and one was the 2006 remake of Wicker Man starring Nicolas Cage.
Oh.
I worked on that show as a production assistant and traveled on an early morning shuttle boat to and from the location.
Every day?
Every day.
Wow.
Nicolas Cage himself arrived to set via helicopter every day and was picked up by his driver and brought to set.
You know what? Good for you, Nick. Good for you, Nick Cage. That's how I would, if I could, and I don't think that's like an arrogant thing. It's like, if I could do it.
It actually would save him a lot of time waiting on the ferry and in the lineup and all that kind of stuff.
Oh, I would imagine, yeah.
The days I was not directly on set, I spent watching trucks on the remote dirt roads and in the forest on the island. As the crew were closer to the filming location, they needed someone to watch their gear.
Okay.
I spent hours alone in the hot sun, often without seeing another car. I was struck by how remote that place felt, even though busy West Vancouver is just across the water.
Yeah, very neat.
My time there with the film crew was the summer of 2005, a full 4 years before Jodi Henrickson went missing.
Gotcha.
Looking back, I can see, although the island is relatively small, its remote feel and thick woods could possibly provide the place needed to hide a body.
Yeah, something about isolated, desolate areas.
She could be anywhere over there.
Yeah.
Let's look at Jodi's story a little closer. Jodi Henrickson was born on February 23, 1992 to Bob, a longshoreman at the Squamish port, and Nancy Henrickson. She also had a brother, Rob James, and a younger brother, Dylan. When she was younger, Jodi was involved with the Brownies and Guides. She was close to her... Yeah, exactly. Your girls do that, too.
They do.
She was close to her family growing up. By all accounts, she was kind, sensitive, and outgoing. She had lots of friends and loved to hang out with them.
Sounds great.
She was creative, so when she wasn't busy with her pals, she was busy drawing. A few of Jodi's friends still hold on to the drawings that they gave her.
Oh, my heart.
In a 2012 article in Peak magazine, Jodi's brother, Rob, said many of her artworks still adorn the walls of the Henrickson family home. Quote, "We have quite a few of them around the house," said Rob, adding that though Jodi's room is redecorated, the house is filled with mementos of her. There's pictures of her all over the house still. I guess it's pretty hard on my mom to have to see all of her clothes and different things, end quote.
Oh, God. Yeah. Again, as I do often, I picture my kids, and Violet loves to draw. Our house is littered with her drawings, and so I'm picturing, like, how that would... Oh, my God. Family, poor family.
Jodi enjoyed dressing up for Halloween every year. One Halloween, Jodi and her friends had memorably dressed up like the girl group, the Pussycat Dolls, and I saw a picture of it on Facebook.
Yeah, I forgot about the Pussycat Dolls, and I'm not upset about that.
Jodi loved a good prank, but she had a hard time lying. Some said she was impulsive and not entirely predictable, liking things spur of the moment. So, as a lot of creative people do.
Yeah, I so relate to that.
Jodi loved her dog Panda and would often take another stuffed dog along on their walks.
Oh.
Jodi was a decent student, but liked English far more than math. Not that I relate to that at all. Jodi had just finished grade 11 at Howe Sound Secondary in Squamish. On the month she disappeared. One friend said that Jodi loved to cook, another creative outlet.
Mm-hmm.
Jodi had apparently been considering a career in food at one point.
Oh, okay.
Jodi was a small, pretty brown-eyed girl with a great smile. She paid attention to her clothes and long brown hair.
Sounds pretty normal.
Yeah.
Sounds like a pretty normal and awesome kid, you know? Like, yeah.
A kid you'd be proud to be a parent of.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There was some darkness in Jodi's life, too. In the years leading up to her disappearance, Jodi's parents and friends had become concerned about her. Jodi had a new boyfriend. His name was Gavin Arnott, and he was a couple of years older. Gavin's mom lived in Squamish. However, Gavin's dad lived on Bowen Island. Jodi was spending a lot of time on Bowen and was making new friends. Jodi's brother Rob did not like Gavin very much, telling Jodi he thought Gavin was an asshole. Simon Fraser University criminologist Neil Boyd, who has looked at the case extensively, wrote a detailed article called Where's Jodi Henrickson for Vancouver Magazine in January 2011. The article provided us with a lot of insight into the history between Jodi Henrickson and Gavin Arnott, as well as timelines according to eyewitnesses that Boyd had spoken with.
Oh, okay.
Gavin Arnott was a troubled guy at the time that he was seeing Jodi. From Boyd's article, quote, in early 2009, after a conflict with his mother, who'd separated from his father a decade earlier, Gavin poured lighter fluid on himself and tried to set himself on fire. This led to a stay in a psychiatric ward.
Oh, man.
End quote.
That is intense.
It is super intense.
Yeah, like for trying to harm yourself or kill yourself, like that is a pretty terrifying way.
Yeah, self-immolation they call it, and you don't want to go that way, like that guy did by the White House the other day.
What? I didn't even hear about that.
Look it up.
Yeah.
At this time, Squamish RCMP Constable Christy Moore swore out an affidavit that we have a copy of. It goes, quote, it is not in the interest of Lynn Federick, Gavin's mother, or any other person that Gavin Thomas Arnott have in his possession any firearms, ammunition, or explosive substances, end quote. So that leads me to believe that the RCMP was concerned for the safety of Lynn Federick.
Yeah.
Whether Lynn was concerned or not, that's another thing.
Yep.
Because this is just what the RCMP is saying, right?
Exactly. This is from
their perspective, not Lynn's.
Yep.
Only a few months later, on April 8th, 2009, a charge of assault was brought against Gavin for an altercation he'd had with Jodi.
Oh, okay.
A court information file we obtained reads, quote, Count 1. Gavin Thomas Arnott, on or about the 8th day of April, at or near Squamish, in the province of British Columbia, did commit assault of another person, Jodi Henrickson, contrary to Section 266 of the Canadian Criminal Code, end quote. In Neil Boyd's article, Gavin gave his account of what had happened.
Oh, so he got to interview Gavin?
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a lot of Gavin's own words here.
Okay. Let's hear.
Quote, Gavin said that he called her a pig because she was eating too much of their dinner. She threw and these are his words. She threw a motorcycle helmet at me. I grabbed her and threw her out of the house, and she went to the police, end quote. The relationship between the two was pretty stormy. Another friend of the couple shared in Neil Boyd's article about another event. Quote, the friend remembered a camping trip near Pemberton when a group of kids were sitting in a hot tub. Gavin got angry with Jodi and began choking her. He wouldn't stop, one of the friends had to intervene, getting Gavin in a headlock and literally throwing him out of the tub. Rob saw his sister a week later, saying she was black and blue down her arms and around her neck from Gavin choking her, end quote.
Wow. So, yeah, that's one of the friends saying that. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, but he was never charged with that.
Yeah. If his friend's recollection is true, that's terrifying.
Yeah. On June 5th, 2009, Gavin was found guilty of the assault on Jodi Henrickson, only 15 days before Jodi went missing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
He was conditionally discharged, subjected to a 5-year firearm ban, and sentenced to 18 months of probation with a total of 9 conditions he was to adhere to. And the conditions are as follows. 1. Keep the peace and be of good behavior. 2. Appear before the court when required to do so by the court. 3. Notify the court or probation officer in advance of any change of name or address, and promptly notify the court or the probation officer of any change of employment or occupation. 4. You are to report today to your probation officer at a specified address in North Vancouver, and thereafter as and when directed by the probation officer. 5. You are to reside where directed by the probation officer, and do not change that residence without the prior written permission of the probation officer. 6. You are not to attend any known place of employment, residence, or place of education of Jodi Henrickson. 7. You are to have no contact directly or indirectly with Jodi Henrickson. 8. You are not to attend place name redacted, and I'm not sure why. 9. You are to take and successfully complete such counseling as directed by the probation officer, including anger management and respectful relationships.
So really, you get a sense of what it's about starting at number 6.
Right. He is not to have any contact with Jodi at all.
Yeah.
And he is also supposed to be taking anger management, and they don't want him to have any weapons or anything like that.
It's a pretty serious charge and precautionary steps that they're taking. So they're obviously the court deems it a concern.
Right. The last public posts on Jodi's Facebook profile are from June 6 and 7, 2009. It seems she was answering questions asked by a friend, you know what the girls do online. Their friends will ask them a bunch of questions about boys and all that kind of stuff, and then they'll answer in a note. Some of what Jodi wrote on her post in June 6 is kind of telling, considering what is presumed to have happened to her only days later. Here are just a few of the most interesting entries. Question: do you think your ex still loves you? Answer: yup, he loves me and cries about it every night. Smiley face. Question: looking back, did you ever waste too much time on a certain boy or girl? Answer: yeah. Question: if the person who hurt you the most in your life apologized to you and told you that they loved you, what would you do? Answer: call the cops. Question: are you self-conscious? Answer: ish. Question: could you ever be friends again with somebody that broke your heart? Answer: after time, maybe, but probably not. Question: think back to your most recent relationship. Was it all your fault it's over? Answer: I don't think I would say that. I think we brought out the worst in each other, but ultimately it was his fault. So we don't know who she's talking about. We do know she had a recent relationship with Gavin Arnott. So who knows who she's talking about?
Yep.
You know, only she would know that.
Because it didn't mention a name. It
Right.
mentioned X and, the possibility that there was multiple.
Yep. The Henricksons were adamant that Jodi should never see Gavin Arnott again. They were hopeful that the assault charge and conviction, with the conditions, would keep the two apart.
Oh, yeah, no, I totally get that. But again, as a parent, like if somebody was charged and convicted of assaulting one of my daughters, I'm going to be adamant you don't see this person.
Yeah. Well, it didn't keep them apart.
Of course.
The night before Jodi went missing, she spent the evening with her brother Rob. From a recent article on the Squamish Reporter website, quote, Jodi Henrickson was to go to Bowen Island the next day, and they both played video games at their home in Brackendale. So just her and her bro hanging out, playing video games.
I'm down with that. That sounds like a great night.
Rob said, "She had a very bubbly personality, and I remember she was very positive that night too. She was going to Bowen Island, and it was just normal conversations." Rob could not have imagined that he would never see his sister again.
Oh, my heart.
End quote.
Yeah. Shit. Ugh.
Jodi lied to her parents before she left home that day. She told them that she was going to Cultus Lake to camp with friends that weekend, and that she wouldn't be home until Tuesday. Cultus Lake was over 2 hours away in the Fraser Valley and far away from Bowen Island where Gavin Arnott was.
Yep, complete opposite direction.
The Henricksons did not feel the need to worry much beyond the usual concerns of parents of a female teen who's going camping.
Yeah.
But little did they know. They had no idea that the typically honest Jodi was off to Bowen Island, that when Jodi left, this would be the last time they would see her. And we will take a break. When Jodi arrived at the party, at her property on Harding Road on Bowen Island, it was already hopping. Among the partygoers, Gavin Arnott was there as well. We're unsure of when the two first interacted that evening or what had transpired between them. Neil Boyd's article gives us the best account of the night's events that I was able to find, lot of this will be directly from Neil Boyd's article. Here's a quote. When Jodi arrived at the Harding place, the party was already in full swing. Gavin remembered that he was, quote, super drunk. He'd had about 12 Coronas and a Mickey, and for those of you who don't know what a Mickey is, it's Canadian for pint, and he threw up all over the deck.
Wow.
Cleaning up the mess, he soaked his pants with the hose. He staggered out to his father's truck, where he had clean clothes. He drove back toward the house, and his friend, Cole Dallas, said that the truck almost hit the house. Cole recalled, "We pulled him out of the car and duct taped him to a pole so he couldn't drive anymore." It's what teenagers do,
But he, 12 Coronas and a Mickey.
That's a lot of booze.
That's to get behind the wheel. Wow.
Cole thought it was pretty funny, recalled Gavin. "I was pretty wasted. I also had a fight with Doug after that. He punched me on the jaw. A little later, he put me to bed. I think it was probably sometime before midnight," end quote. About 8 kilometers away, Cole's sister was having a party in a small subdivision that locals call Leroyville. And it's called Leroyville because all the houses kind of look the same and they were built by a guy named Leroy.
Oh, okay.
After seeing Gavin duct taped to the pole, Jodi made her way back to the other party for a while, so the one in Leroyville. In the wee hours of the morning, Jodi bummed a ride back to the Harding Road party. There, she found Gavin sleeping where his friends had left him. Jodi woke him, and the two started talking.
And is this from Gavin confirms all this?
Yep.
Wow, okay, all right.
Jodi and Gavin snagged a ride back toward Leroyville, so people are seeing them together all along this way.
Okay.
Gavin's dad was renovating a house there. The person who drove them back only took them as far as Snug Cove, and Jodi and Gavin started walking the rest of the way.
Okay.
At 4:30 a.m., a friend spotted Jodi and Gavin holding hands and walking along Grafton Road near the elementary school. The friend who'd been coming from the Harding Road party pulled over and chatted with the couple.
Okay.
Gavin asked for a ride for he and Jodi, but the friend declined, saying he was tired and he had to get up the next day to go to the city, so he had to go home and hit the hay.
So yeah, that's lots of confirmation. People talking to them
and seeing them together.
Yeah. So that's not speculation.
No.
That's confirmed. Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
From Neil Boyd's article, Jodi and Gavin walked down towards Snug Cove, then up the aptly named 7 Hills on Miller Road. Close to the turnoff to Miller's Landing, a young couple driving to an early ferry noticed Gavin and Jodi by the side of the road. That was at about 6:30 a.m. on Saturday, June 20th, 2009. Jodi Henrickson has not been seen since, end quote.
So that was the absolute last sighting of her.
6:30 a.m.
With him at the side of the road, okay.
By anyone other than Gavin. It was on Wednesday, June 24, 2009, that Jodi's parents reported her missing to police. Corporal Dave Ritchie of the Squamish RCMP said, investigators firmly believe that she is still on the island. RCMP checked ferry records and video surveillance several times, and Ritchie said further, there's nothing to indicate that she left the island, even though she was down close to the ferry terminal, well, relatively close.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of the positives about having such a remote area is it can be relatively easy to track activity.
Yeah.
Because, there's only a few points of travel. I mean, unless somebody hopped on a boat later on. But it's very, very limited points of access. So, video, witnesses.
Contrary to some media reports, teenagers did begin to talk early in the investigation. Most were extremely helpful to police. Early on, there was a rumor that kids weren't talking to the cops, but they totally were.
Okay.
Some people felt that Jodi had left the island and just taken off with someone. Jodi's family and friends thought otherwise, and obviously so did the police. They thought something had happened to her and pleaded with the public for any information. The Facebook group Let's Find Jodi Henrickson was created by family and began to grow steadily to over 400 members in just a few days.
Well, then this would have been pretty early on in the Facebook days, too.
Yeah, it's over like 3,500 now.
Yeah.
The fact that Jodi did not contact anyone, especially her mom, in the days after her disappearance was concerning. Her activity on Facebook dried up completely. It was out of character for Jodi to just vanish. She was a very chatty girl.
Yeah, and it didn't seem like she had any challenges with her parents more so than any other teenager.
Right.
You know, it doesn't. So I don't get the feeling that she's like, I hate my mom, I'm not talking to her. So I can see how for them that would be incredibly out of character.
There are some unsubstantiated things that I've read about her having trouble at home, but that is 100% unsubstantiated.
And every kid at some point has some conflict with their parents. I expect the day where my kids, I hate you because I didn't give them,
food.
Well, they can get their own damn food, but because you have to be a parent.
Yeah.
But I'm going to trust the parents if they're saying that it's out of character for her to go missing in zero contact.
Yeah. On Canada Day, July 1st, 2009, Bowen TV obtained video and audio from police officials and others involved in the search for Jodi Henrickson. Here's some of their audio obtained from their YouTube channel.
We're into day 11 now, and nobody's heard or seen from Jodi for 11 days, which is very unusual. We've spoken to a lot of island residents and a lot of acquaintances and friends who were at the parties involved, and we're getting tremendous cooperation and great caring from all people, and everyone's just hopeful we can find Jodi and get her home. We've had an investigative team on Bowen Island since Thursday, the 25th, and now in day 11 on July 1st, we're utilizing more search and rescue organizations and teams. We're utilizing police service dogs out of the Lower Mainland and the police helicopter from the Lower Mainland to continue searches, and the investigative team is remaining here on the island and assisting the Bowen Island detachment with the investigation. We'll be doing in and out residential property, speaking to residents and doing door knocks, and there'll be dog teams searching as well, and the helicopter's going to do some searching around certain areas on the island. At this point, we haven't categorized it or taken any direction other than missing person. We haven't ruled out foul play, we haven't ruled out accidental, or we haven't ruled out any medical issues completely. And until we do and get evidence or clues to go in one direction, we'll remain it as a missing person case at this point.
So tell us about the search efforts today.
Well, this is the second day that Search and Rescue's been over here. So North Shore Rescue, we've asked for support from Lions Bay and Coquitlam Search and Rescue. And actually, we have a search dog from the Avalanche Association here also. But working with the RCMP and all their different sections, we started on Sunday searching areas and some steep terrain areas and other areas around Bowen, and today we're searching this area in the northern part of the island at their request.
Tell us about this area. Tell us about the terrain.
Well, it's not difficult terrain at all. It's in the residential area. and teams are going in just to check the properties.
The community has been very supportive and very cooperative, and that's actually been very helpful to the investigation. And it's times like this when people in a small community, when they band together and they come together, that we the police and the public, when we all have the same objective, and that's to find Jodi, it greatly increases our chances of success. So to your viewers and those who have called and those who have assisted us in the investigation, on behalf of the RCMP, thank you very much. It's been very helpful. And once again, I can't say this enough, if anybody has any information about Jodi, please give the RCMP on Bowen Island a call.
So there you go. It sounds like they were really
diligent.
Yeah, they threw a lot of resources into the search for, Jodi.
You can hear the helicopters constantly above.
Yeah, it's why I used that audio, because I felt like it gave a really good indication of the amount of resources that were thrown at finding Jodi Henrickson.
Yeah, you really get the impression that they weren't taking it. She just ran away.
Yeah, no, it was definitely taken seriously.
Yeah.
Gavin Arnott was publicly identified early on as a person of interest in Jodi's disappearance. On July 2nd, 2009, beside a photo of Gavin and Jodi, a huge headline in the province newspaper read, "Ex-boyfriend denies role in teen's disappearance." Can you imagine? You're 19 years old, and you are accused of having a role in your girlfriend's disappearance and possible murder.
Yeah, on the cover of a major newspaper.
Yeah. So everybody saw it.
Yep.
In the accompanying article, Gavin Arnott said, "According to police, I was the last person to see her, which puts me in a really bad spot because it makes me look like I did something."
Okay, well, that's aware. Yeah, very.
Absolutely. Yeah. Gavin claimed that he had seen Jodi even after he'd been sentenced for the assault. He said she tricked him into a meeting in a park near her home in Brackendale. Also from the province article, quote, "She yelled to me, 'If you don't talk to me, I'm going to tell the police you did talk to me.' He said, 'She kind of blackmailed me, but I didn't have a problem with it either. I really missed her a lot.'" After their encounter on Bowen, Arnott said, "I didn't see if she walked off or what happened. She'd been talking earlier that night about, like, me taking my dad's truck and running away with her. She was drunk, right? And I don't know if she would have actually carried that out or not." End quote. Arnott went on to say that he had nothing to do with her disappearance and that he hoped Jodi was okay and that he would never do anything to hurt Jodi again. So he was even owning up to the previous assault.
Yeah, he was. Yep, he was. And he's saying the things one should say.
Yep.
He's being forthright about, I was with her. And
Gavin had been interviewed by police for at least 8 hours in the days after Jodi's disappearance. Neil Boyd's article gives Gavin's account of his movements after he claims he walked away from Jodi without looking back.
Oh, I'm interested.
Quote, "He said he went to his father's rental house where he was supposed to work that morning, taking out insulation. He said he slept at the rental house for about an hour, then hitchhiked back to Doug Harding's house. At about 8:30 a.m., Gavin was picked up near the school by a young woman who worked at the Orchard, the treatment facility for people with substance abuse problems. Yeah. Gavin said he walked from the Orchard to Doug Harding's, about a kilometer away, and picked up his father's truck. He said he packed up some empties and cleaned up after the party, but didn't see anyone. Quote, I was probably there about 30 minutes, then I drove back to my dad's rental house and worked on pulling out the insulation. A little after 11 a.m., Gavin arrived at the Legion. There was a memorial service for a local Bowen Islander who had died the previous week after decades of heavy drinking. Todd, a friend of Gavin's, remembered that Gavin got to the service a little late. I could hear the truck arrive outside, and he looked pretty messed up, Todd said.
Yeah.
A friend of Jodi's from West Vancouver also remembered seeing Gavin at the service. Quote, he was staring at the ground. He had his head in his hands. He looked very messed up. After the service, Gavin went to the Bowen Island pub for lunch. Quote, I ordered some potato skins, he said, but I couldn't eat them because my jaw was still sore from Doug hitting me. I went to the pharmacy and got a protein shake, end quote. Another friend recalled seeing Gavin at the pub in the early afternoon. He looked, quote, fucked up, she told one of her friends. That night, Gavin slept over at Doug Harding's house, and the next day he returned to his mother's place in Squamish, end quote.
Yeah, so a lot of people saying that he looked like hell, but having said that...
He's going to a funeral.
And by everybody's admission, including his, he was tanked. He you know,
was
like
shit-faced last
and
night,
he got punched and stuff like. So if you go to like a party throughout the night, and you taped to a pole and stuff like you're gonna look rough.
Yeah.
So that's not something that really can be looked at in one way or another. Like that's not really something that can be looked at one way or another. Like it's I think and most people in that situation would have looked like hell.
Yeah. On July 3rd, 2009, Lynn Federick, Gavin's mum, leapt to his defense in the media, claiming Jodi was the one causing the problems in the relationship. Lynn said Jodi was trouble with a capital T and was, quote, a bad influence on Gavin. She went on to say she thought Jodi had simply run away.
It's unfortunate. I wish she just wouldn't have made those comments, but...
I get that she had to come to her 20-year-old son's defense.
No,
but
for sure.
I would think that Jodi's family, concerned for their daughter's well-being, had to have been hurt by those allegations. That's not the appropriate time for that, I don't think.
And you're spot on, though. Like, you would want to leap to the defense of your children.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate, the words that she chose.
And the timing was just poor.
Yeah. So,
yeah. Randy, Gavin's dad, is a volunteer fireman on Bowen Island and the co-owner of Twin Island Excavating.
Oh, okay.
According to Neil Boyd's 2011 article, Randy was informed by police that they believed Gavin had actually murdered Jodi on the morning of June 20th, around Miller Road between 6:30 and 8:30 a.m. They thought that he had stashed her in brush nearby.
So that's what the police told Randy?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
They surmised that Gavin had returned to Jodi's body around 9 a.m. with Randy's truck that he'd gone to pick up, moving and dumping her somewhere before heading to the memorial service at the Legion.
Interesting, okay.
Randy himself told Neil Boyd that he'd checked on his excavators after talking to police. Gavin knew how to operate them.
Wow.
Randy said he was relieved when he found them untouched. Randy has said in many interviews after that he does not believe that Gavin had anything to do with Jodi going missing. The search for Jodi Henrickson eventually wound down. There was no trace of her. But her family still wants answers. There's even the faintest hope that Jodi is still alive and out there somewhere. Maybe she really did run away, but...
My question, and I don't know if you stumbled across it during your research, so Randy checked the excavators and stuff like that. I'm assuming the police must have done their due diligence and checked all of that stuff as well.
Apparently they did, and they checked properties nearby for signs of digging with an excavator. And they could find nothing unusual.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a cold case to Jodi's family, obviously, nor is it to police.
Yeah.
Because it keeps coming back. It keeps coming back in the news, too. Even a year later, July 2010, police were back in the area near where Jodi had last been seen with Gavin. From SquamishChief.com, quote, investigators are processing several bags worth of material gathered Saturday, July 17th, after volunteers, police, and search and rescue workers combed the Bowen Island locale believed to be the last place missing Squamish teen Jodi Henrickson was seen more than a year ago. It's unclear whether progress was made during the search of the Seven Hills area, which is off a main road and characterized by underbrush and vegetation about 30 feet from an embankment leading to water. End quote. So they're probably looking for shreds of clothing, anything that would indicate that Jodi had been there even for a brief period of time.
Yeah.
Near the end of Neil Boyd's January 2011 article are some words from Gavin Arnott. Quote, Gavin himself acknowledged that people on Bowen were at first very suspicious of him, but it's died down, he said. Boyd asked him, do you see why people think you're the person who's most likely to have killed her? And Gavin said, yeah, I get that. I'd feel suspicion of someone in the same circumstances as me.
Oh, that's... Yeah,
End quote.
Yeah.
So
he's owning that. He's
not running away from that.
Yeah.
The problems weren't over for Gavin, though. Just months after talking to Neil Boyd, he was in trouble again in May of 2011. From a breaking news article on the CTV News website, quote, CTV News learned this week that Arnott has now been charged with sexual interference and possession of child pornography for allegedly keeping illicit photographs of a 14-year-old on his cell phone and computer.
Oh, jeez.
This renewed hope for the Henrickson family, but once again there was no new leads in regard to Jodi's whereabouts. These two things aren't connected.
Yeah.
In February 2012, according to another CTV breaking news article, Gavin Arnott was arrested and held for breaching his bail conditions. Quote, court documents accuse him of contacting a 14-year-old girl who he allegedly had sex with. He had been charged with sexual interference and child pornography for allegedly keeping illicit photographs of the girl. The age of consent in Canada is 16. This is the second time the young man has allegedly violated his bail conditions. End quote. So he was held until trial on the pornography and sexual interference charges later that month, but we're unsure of the outcome of that trial due to the age of the complainant. The details are under publication ban.
I get that. And aside from the case we're covering, he has been charged and convicted with some pretty terrible things.
This guy has done some bad things.
Yep.
But none of those things equal murder.
Yes.
None of those things equal...
For sure.
Kidnapping somebody.
For sure.
There is no physical evidence to prove that he did anything to Jodi other than the previous assault.
And people will speculate. It's what humans do. But going just by the facts, he's not charged with anything.
That's right. This brings us to today. According to Gavin's Facebook page, he's moved on. He's a father now and spends time with his friends partying, fishing, and boating. Gavin's story is an interesting one. Yes, he's had some legal entanglements. He's done some things that make him look like a bad guy, but there has been zero physical evidence presented that would implicate him in the slightest regarding Jodi Henrickson's disappearance and supposed murder.
Yeah.
Any evidence implicating him is 100% circumstantial and wouldn't stand up in a court of law. So perhaps one day Jodi will be found and we'll get some answers. Perhaps the evidence might even point to somebody else. Perhaps.
We've all heard and seen cases where it just seems so crystal clear who it is and it turns out to not be. We have to go by what we have, which is just circumstantial.
There's no evidence about what happened to Jodi Henrickson after 6:30 a.m. that morning that we're aware of. The police may have something that they're holding back.
And likely, but again, that's all just guessing and that's all just speculation.
Yeah. I have a feeling that the police are holding something back.
Yeah.
Which, would make sense. Maybe when they did that search near that place, they actually did find something.
Yep.
Why would they be searching there a year later?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And, But
again...
Yeah. My overall takeaway from this is the families.
Yeah.
Again, it's a tough thing, and I know I beat this.
Both the families.
Yeah. Well, that's why I said family. Yeah. I know I beat this horse to death already, but it's just, it as a parent, it's just, I can't think of much worse than your child going missing or killed, both of those things.
But then also...
And having your child accused as well.
Mm-hmm.
I wish his mom hadn't said those things. But again, having your child accused of taking somebody's life, that'll alter your family.
We want to remind you again of the facts of this case, because at the end of the day, Jodi Henrickson is still missing 10 years later.
Yeah.
At the time of her disappearance, Jodi Henrickson was 17 years old. She's a Caucasian female with long dark brown hair, a small build, and she stood approximately 5'3". She was last seen wearing a black leather jacket, black long-sleeve shirt, and blue jeans. Our hope is that releasing this podcast so near the anniversary of Jodi Henrickson's disappearance will jog someone's memory or even nudge someone's conscience. We're actually recording this on the 10th anniversary of the party. If you know something, anything at all that might help or even bring Jodi home, the police and Jodi's family want to hear from you. The Integrated Homicide Team IHIT tip line number is 1-877-551-IHIT or 4448. The team's email is ihit-tipline@rcmp-grc.gc.ca. Anonymous tips can be left with Crime Stoppers at 1-800-222-8477, or tips can be shared through solvecrime.ca. A cash reward of up to $2,000 will be paid for any information which leads to an arrest and charge. We'll leave all the information in our show notes this week too for contact. But again, if you saw anything the morning of June 20th, 2009 on Bowen Island around 6:30 a.m. and have something that you'd like to talk to the police about that you overheard or maybe know that happened later, please let them know.
Let's give the family some closure.
I don't know if closure is even really a thing.
No, it's not, but
it answers.
Yes, that's the perfect phrase. Let's give the family some answers. Because the purgatory is the worst. That what happened.
Yeah, and it feels like that. It feels like a purgatory, I'm sure, to them.
Yeah, so at least to be able to know which direction to move in.
Yeah,
it is something powerful. And let's try to get the family what they so need.
That's it for this week's story. One thing, I'm always concerned when the police have somebody in mind. And they, like I say, they may know far more than we do.
Yeah, there's typically reasons why they have a macro focus on somebody.
Yeah.
But we've also seen cases where they've been wrong.
Exactly. Like, look at Damien Eccles.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Exactly, yeah.
They had a laser focus on that guy as the bad guy.
Yeah.
And he was an interesting cat. Like, he self-proclaimed, like, Satanist and doing all kinds of just a weird dude.
Yep, correct. And
intentionally weird.
Yep.
So why not, like, that guy stands out, you know?
Yep. But
this is a bit of a different situation.
Yeah, and in the same vein, we're not absolving anybody. I mean, sometimes the focus is deserved, but again, and this is a case where
this is unsolved.
There's just
This is why I don't like to do Unsolved.
Yeah. This is I'm glad we're covering this one. This is an important one, I think, to cover for us.
And we're going to do some more. We're more concerned. We don't want to paint somebody as guilty.
Because we try our best to not be speculators.
Right.
You know, we try to cover cases where we've got the facts, including the closure, like including what happened.
Yeah.
And so when you're just left hanging, that leads to speculation.
Yeah.
That's all that does.
So we know that lots of people are going to speculate on this case, but try and keep in mind the facts that you have.
Yes.
Armchair detectives are going to say so-and-so or so-and-so did it.
Yeah.
But guess what? You honestly don't know. Until somebody is convicted in a court of law, and sometimes even that.
Yes.
You know, you still don't know.
Yeah.
It's an interesting world that we live in.
Yeah, it really is. Everybody now has a voice as well.
Yeah.
So everybody can post and shit like that. It's an interesting time because in the past you would have ideas and speculation, and you could tell your friends.
Yeah.
And now you can share this stuff everywhere, and that can change dynamics of things, and so
it damage somebody's life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And we don't want to do that, and that's why we're sharing only things that are readily available on a Google search.
Not anything we thought or think.
Nope. None of this is new. And I'm sure even if Gavin listens to this, none of this is new to him either. So I don't think he'll be surprised by anything that we've said here.
Yep. Yeah, we're trying our best. We're trying our damnedest to be as objective as possible in presenting a tragic case.
We want somebody to be found. At the end of the day, it's like we said before, we just want answers
for the family,
for Jodi's family.
Yeah,
that's it.
Well, and Gavin's family as well.
Yeah. Well, sure. If it turns out that Gavin through evidence is absolved, all the better.
Or if it was the other way too, at least people they know directions to go.
Some finality.
Yeah, you can say, okay, well, this sucks, but I need to process it.
Yeah.
And at least nobody's left in limbo and in purgatory.
No, that's a great word for it, is that purgatory.
It really, that is what it is.
Neither of us are religious folk.
No.
Yeah, Scott and I, if we walked into a church, it would burn to the ground, I think, pretty much.
You're just walking past them. I see smoke.
You see smoke coming out of the church?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's, they probably would not allow
People open the door and hiss at me.
Hiss at you?
Yeah. When I walk,
wow.
yeah.
Well, that's it for this week's case.
Woo!
Let's move on.
Let's do that.
Because what I would love to do is thank our patrons for this week.
Those wonderful people. That isn't speculation.
No.
That is fact.
It is fact because they are kind enough to want to help us out. So we actually have 2 new PMs this week.
Holy crackers.
We have Valerie Roberts from Vermilion, Alberta.
Oh, that sounds like
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I
Vermilion.
Like that. I like Vermilion.
It sounds like that would be a bad guy in the Disney movie Black Hole.
My name is Vermilion.
Oh, no, I'm thinking a robot. But that's because it was Maximilian, but
Exactly. And then we also have Nick Mohar-Schurz of Williamsport, Maryland.
Wow.
So
thank
2
you guys.
PMs. You guys, Valerie and Nick, you're awesome.
Oh.
And Nick, I'm sorry, I probably just slaughtered your name to pieces.
I think people hope that you slaughtered their name at this point.
Yeah.
Because they know it's coming.
There you go.
They know it's coming. They can't be like, no, Mike's great with pronunciations.
Yep. Because they know I'm not.
Correct.
Christina Lemke from Grand Prairie, Texas. I didn't know there was a Grand Prairie in Texas.
How many Grand Prairies are there?
Well, I guess anywhere there's
2.
a prairie, there's there's something grand.
Well,
you must think.
Debatable.
Bev Murphy from Stillwater Lake, Nova Scotia.
Thank you, Bev. Thank you.
I love seeing Nova Scotians support our show.
Yeah.
I don't, it just, it makes me homesick every time. I want to come home and have some donaires.
Their tourism board should be throwing some cash your way.
Well, Nova Scotia is the greatest place to go in the summer. It is beautiful.
Yeah, well,
beautiful.
I want to go.
If you've never seen it, search for Carter's Beach in Nova Scotia online, and you'll see one of the most beautiful places. But it used to be a bit of a secret. Now it's not so much, so it's really super hard to find parking.
Mike, as Apple's top 10 podcasts for this year, you've just the secret is no longer, Mike.
There you go. Oh, and so these 2 people have the same address, Bev Murphy and Chris Davey.
Oh,
so
let's hope it's just coincidence. Like they live in a basement suite, and I want to go with it's just coincidence.
They're both from Stillwater Lake, so another Nova Scotian. I am so proud of our Nova Scotian listeners.
Reppin'.
You guys are thebomb.com.
Woo-woo.
Claire Hewitt from Surrey, Great Britain.
I was excited. I'm like, a local, Great Britain, but still beautiful place.
Yes, it's our sister Surrey.
Our sister Surrey. Oh.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
Well, there you go. Matthew Gafford. Oh, where's he from, Scott?
From Gaffordsville.
Gaffordsville. So,
yep.
Did his family found Gaffordsville?
No, you would think that they would have, but they didn't.
It's just a coincidence.
Yeah, it's very much a coincidence.
And what does Matthew do for a living?
Oh, Matthew, he oddly works at Guildford Mall.
That's British Columbia here in Surrey.
No, I know. What a commute.
What, does he use a TARDIS or some kind of weird teleportation device?
It's just ridiculous.
Where is Gaffordville?
It's in Louisiana.
We just came from Louisiana.
I know.
So you're just making shit up.
Mike, I don't do that. This is all fact. We just talked we don't speculate here in Dark Poutine. I'm just speaking the truths, the facts.
Speaking the nonsense.
Matthew will speak up and tell me how accurate I am, Mike, and then you will eat your words.
Okay.
Right, Matthew? We'll fight in the good fight.
Fight in the good fight. Shell Williams from Newark, Delaware.
Oh.
In the United States.
Oh.
It's Delaware.
Delaware.
We do have another listener from Delaware, my friend Katie.
Oh, okay.
She's from Delaware.
Oh, wow. Okay, well, at least two.
Yeah.
Representing.
Represent Delaware. And finally, not last but not least, Sarah Paradis from Shelburne, Ontario. Shelburne. Interesting.
Oh.
So I didn't know there was a Shelburne in Ontario because there's a Shelburne in Nova Scotia.
Shelbyburn.
Shelburne.
Hmm.
Yeah.
My mom, he wasn't a stepdad, but my mom dated a fellow who lived with us for like 8 years. It was the same last name. Interesting. I wonder.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How is your mom, Scott?
Great, I think.
I never hear from her on Twitter anymore. I think she's forgotten about us.
Probably so. Rightly so.
Rightly so?
My daughters will be going to spend some time with her next week.
Okay.
So that they're looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. She's looking forward to it.
Excellent.
My kids love spending time with my mom. They'll probably go there for a good week or so in the summer as well. They
I think I've only met your mom once.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna have to go take a jaunt out there then.
Yeah,
because one of the people who live in her complex in her co-op. Last time I was there, she's like, my mom was like, oh, and this is my son. She's like, oh, the Dark Boutique. Oh, I love your show and stuff. So imagine if we're both there.
Have like a little meetup at your mom's place.
But we should try to make a drive out there.
Yeah, for sure.
Go hang out. My mom loves White Spot. We can all go to White Spot, drink the milkshakes, and die.
Thanks so much to our patrons, past and present, for your pledges. We really appreciate your support of the show. Mm-hmm, if you want to help support the show,
do it.
You can do so at patreon.com/darkpoutine, or you can send us some donut money via PayPal at our email address, darkpoutinepodcast@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't already, it would mean a lot to us if you subscribe to the show. You can easily find us on iTunes Podcast, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, or wherever you get your on-demand audio. Check out our website, darkpoutine.com, for show notes and other cool stuff. Give us a follow or like on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Just search for Dark Poutine. Tell your friends about us. Word of mouth is a powerful thing. I say it every week.
Yeah, and it's a fact.
Come join our multiple Facebook groups. We now have the Dark Poutine safe space or safe place,
which is one of the most. I haven't been active in commenting, just life is busy, but I've been reading, and what a beautiful place that is. We have people sharing some pretty amazing, powerful stories.
Yeah,
and
so we saw some people were sharing some really personal things in our main group, and so we wanted to give them kind of a safe space off to the side where they can have really good conversations with each other. And you know what? We have so many kind people that are, helping each other out and just, being an ear for somebody.
Yep. So if you're not interested in helping somebody through a tough time, or you want to criticize, stay the fuck out. We will block your ass so quickly. The last thing we want is for people opening up and being vulnerable.
We're just asking for trolls, just so you know.
Yeah, well. And then we'll boot them.
Yeah. We did get a couple of voicemails this week, and here's the first one.
Gay and diamond hoot scheißen. At least that's what you said to say on your radio or podcast. I love your show. I just wanted to let you know that guy from Oregon likes the Canadian crime stories, and it makes me feel like I'm not too far south into the craziness of California, and yet knowing that there's still craziness up north, I enjoy that quite a bit. Every week I check the new episode, and I have been up there. Never saw any weirdness while I was there, but I do love Vancouver, BC Island, Victoria, Empress Hotel, and anyway, keep up the good work. And enjoy your podcast. Keep it going. My name's Dave.
So there you go. Thanks, Dave.
Dave. So we got I'm assuming we asked for a German go shit in your hat.
Yes.
So I'm assuming that's what he said.
He did give us instantly a German go shit in your hat. So
yeah. Thanks, Dave.
Much appreciated. It's not every day you have somebody tell you to go shit in your hat in German.
It's not, thankfully.
Yeah.
And come back up, Dave. Come back up someday. We'll all hang.
Yeah, exactly.
Oregon's not that far.
Give us a big heads up when you're coming, and we will be able to accommodate a bit of a meetup. Don't just say, "Hey, I'm here," because we might not be.
Exactly.
Yeah, always give us a big heads up if you're coming up here.
But we love getting to spend time with the people who care about us.
Well, the people who listen. I don't know if they care about us, but they do listen to us.
No, that was a good qualifier, Mike.
So there you go. Here's another one.
Oh, massage. Let's voice massage.
And this one is a really short one, and it is from somebody in Prince George.
Oh,
PG,
the George,
and she has a message for us.
Hi, this is Kelly from Prince George, British Columbia. You guys should go tinkle on your tiaras.
Well, there you go. She wants us to go tinkle on our tiaras.
Oh, I've never heard of that. It's a good counterpart to shit in your hat.
Go tinkle on your tiara?
Yeah. How does she know I have tiaras?
I don't know.
Wow, concerning. I mean, Prince George is close. Has she been spying?
That Scott has a tiara.
Yeah. But I have yet to tinkle on it.
Yes.
But I look super pretty in it.
You look super pretty in your tinkly tiara.
Pre-tinkle.
Pre-tinkle. Yeah, pre-tinkle. Oh, boy. So, yes, we said we would play your voicemails if you left us some. So there's one.
Keep doing it.
Or there's two.
There's two. Yeah, that's math, Mike.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be the one correcting anybody on math.
I'm sorry. So that's it for this week.
It is, correct. Yes.
Don't forget to be a good egg and not a bad apple.
Toodaloo.
Bye, everybody. Bye.